So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ukrainian Pavilion. Welcome to the very important and I would say critical session here, at least for this country, and but not least to the other respective member states of UNFCCC convention, UNFCCC convention, and certainly not least to a lot of our friends living in various parts of the world, starting from European Commission and finishing Africa. We will talk about food systems, about the importance of their transformation with strong focus on water issues and of course, bearing in mind climate issue, because we are on the climate conference. And that is why I would like to introduce our respective panelists. First of all, Celia Webb, colleague from Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. We have here Alexei Kuzmenkov, the head of State Agency of Water Resources of Ukraine. We have academician Raisa Vazhegova, director of the Institute of Climate Smart Agriculture of National Academy of Agrarian Science in Ukraine. And we have few colleagues online with us, colleagues from Netherlands, Jacob of Agriculture of Netherlands. Meanwhile, Reynard is also the agricultural chancellor of Kingdom of Netherlands to Ukraine. And we have Jaime Pascal Mondo from very important entrepreneur from the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has started doing a lot of business also with Ukrainian. Colleagues, I really welcome your proactive discussions. I really welcome your responses, your questions to respective panelists. However, my very first question and my very first request will come to my colleague from Food and by the way, I've forgotten to introduce myself. My name is, for those who doesn't know, my name is Mikhail Malkov. I'm the Policy and Program Advisor of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Ukraine. And I'm very much proud and happy to give the floor to Sylvia, who will brief us about vision of the United Nations, vision of Food and Agriculture Organization, about food chain, about food systems. What is this? What is important to know about that? Because food systems is becoming very trendy word this year and last year, but not a lot of people do understand, unfortunately, what is this about. Sylvia, floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mikhail. It is my honor and pleasure to be with all of you today. I'm Sylvie Wabbs. I'm agronomist. I'm a resilience advisor, as Mikhail said, in the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and most specifically in the Emergency and Resilience Office. It's a pleasure to have a quick talk with you about the importance of agri-food systems. First, of course, to feed ourselves, but also to tackle the climate crisis that is ongoing. Climate crisis is very much connected to the food crisis. And this is because climate change, if it's taken just as a packet, it might not be very clear, but it has many risks and many impacts from different types of events. The extreme events or climate-related disasters, and the slow onset events, the ones which are less visible and we feel less. Of course, most of these events in climate change are water related. It's either too much water or too little water. And that's also is related to the temperature, too cold and too warm. And this is why we're focusing on water, especially in a climate situation, because today is the COP presidency Water Day. So this is why Ukraine has been selecting that topic today. So that's about the climate change and why we're talking about climate crisis, because we see more and more the impacts of the extreme events and slow onset events, which are gradual temperature changes, seasonal rainfall patterns changes, and so on. All this is impacting the agri-food system, especially. It's impacting other sectors and other systems too. But the agri-food system, as we all know, is weather dependent. When we talk about agri-food system, we're talking about the system approach, which means from production to processing, distribution, consumption, and disposal of food. So we're looking at the whole food value chain. And all together, what we're working on together with the member states, including Ukraine, is to transform the agri-food system so it becomes one of the main solutions for the climate crisis while still feeding the growing number of people on this planet. This is very important because today, climate-related disasters are absorbing more than 26% of the total economic impacts of the cost of these disasters. When it comes to drought, which is really a critical water shortage elements, it comes to 80%. To imagine the economic impacts that it has. We also have another very important element is that globally, more than 4 billion people depend on the food system and are active in the food system. And so again, it's very important that all these actors from private, public, and community actors are at the center of the action. And they do manage the climate risk and climate impacts. Climate risk and impacts does interplay with many other risks, including conflicts and other crises such as pest and plant and animal disease that we see. So climate change does not act alone. In fact, we are looking at the importance of climate change in helping Ukraine rebuilding forward better its agri-food system, putting disaster and climate risk management at the center of the action. Disaster and climate risk management across the agri-food system, but not only agri-food system, this is also for other systems, water system, infrastructure system, urban system. It needs a suite of complementary and mutually supportive intervention. You've probably heard about this initiative, Early Warning for All, launched by our Secretary General. This is very important, is that we understand risks, disaster climate risk, and that these are regularly monitored and triggering some early warnings so that we can take action ahead of catastrophic impacts from drought, for example. Another suite of measures, it's the importance of nature-based solution, putting healthy ecosystems, forest and different type of landscape at the center of the climate solution, investing in these healthy ecosystems so that they are still on functioning and they play the first line of defense against climate change. Other mechanism includes cash and social protection, so helping smallholders to cope, absorb, prevent, adapt to the impact and the risk from climate change. Building climate-proof infrastructure. This is very important in terms of the irrigation. For example, irrigation systems are needed and are used in Ukraine in a large part of its territory. It's not rain-fed agriculture, it is irrigated system. How to improve, rehabilitate also these irrigation systems so that they are most efficient in the water use and can deliver the water that is needed to face this climate variability that we have. We also need a suite of governance, climate and disaster risk management policies, what we call governance on climate risk, climate and disasters. This is also very important to guide the investments and the programming that is needed to build and transform the agri-food systems. So this is a sort of broad range of action, which is also taken forward in the EU Green Deal, putting this suite of action at the center of the action. And we're very much looking forward to continue working with Ukraine, taking a leading role as a food producer for the world in transforming and rehabilitating, looking forward better, putting climate risk at the center of the action. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these great words, Sylvia. I'll probably add a couple of words if I can. First of all, food systems. When it comes to food systems, I guess you understand we are always talking, we used to speak about value chain. We used to speak about supply chain. What is the difference between this approach is that, first of all, it has principal element, which is the person, the human being, alongside this food system. The person who is producer, the person who is consumer, the person who used to utilize the food. This is everything about diets, about personalities. And therefore, role of water is absolutely important. It's absolutely critical, as well as climate, because climate change, in accordance to FAO, is one of the main drivers of food systems, really main drivers of transformation of food systems, because food systems should be adapted to existing climate conditions. And that is why I would probably like to give the floor to another very important guest, which has just joined us. I'm talking about the Deputy Minister of the Profile Ministry, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Agricultural Policy and Food, Denis Bashlik. Denis, floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mikhail. First of all, I would like to thank for the invitation. It's a great honor for me to be at that session. Unfortunately, online, but I hope next time it will be offline. I think the Ukraine does not need any advertisement in its agricultural sphere. It's first place in the global exports of sunflower oil, third place in the global export of colza, first place in the global export in barley, and so on and so far. 41% of Ukraine export in 2021 was agricultural business products. Food trade is equivalent to 6% of global calorie consumption, and 10% of Ukraine's GDP is agriculture. So we do understand the importance of the agriculture sphere in Ukraine and on the global market. Despite the war, we are continuing to working on the agricultural policy in Ukraine in our ministry and with close cooperation with the Ministry of Environment in context of climate change and food chains. We do understand the importance, despite the war, of Green Deal, and we're not stopping to working on it. And I think the ministry is ready to take and is taking the leading role in this process. I want to say that the Green Deal is still in focus of Ukraine, despite all the problems that we have with the war, with the emergency problems in agriculture sphere. For the last 3 years, the significant work has been done in the context of climate change, because frankly speaking, when I spoke to farmers, for example, 3 years ago, the reaction on the climate change definition was like, you know, what is it? Now the reaction is how to adapt, how to mitigate the risks, and how to be the party of the process. So if we speak about the state policy in the context of food chains and climate change, I want to say that in 2021, the area of irrigated land was about 500,000 of hectares. And Ukraine is continuing to working to improve this digit. For example, the irrigation reform was conducted, and it opened opportunities for agricultural producers to invest in expanding the area of irrigated lands and reducing water supply costs, which leads to increase in the gross production of agricultural products, which leads to supplying the food chains. So if we speak about some concrete projects right now, we are working to renew a lot of old irrigation systems that we've received from the USSR times. And frankly speaking, now it is the active phase of development, the feasibility studies for the future irrigation projects. Also, on Friday, the last normative act was adopted. So now in Ukraine, it is possible to create a private association of the water users, and it was like one of the final phases of irrigation reform. So not to take a lot of time, I'd better answer some questions. I would like to say that Ukraine is still working on the development of irrigation to support the adaptation and mitigation of climate change and support of food chains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denis, for your words. And I need to admit that the word irrigation was one of the most common during this discussion, and probably one of the most familiar. And let me probably step in with another idea. We will have a very important, we are sitting now in the COP27, which is a climate conference, global climate conference. But not a lot of people are aware that somewhere in March in the New York, we'll have another very big event. I am saying about the Global Water Conference, United Nations Water Conference. And that event will be also very important because during this event, all the issues which Denis has mentioned, economy of water alongside the entire production chain, in our case, alongside the entire food system, will be one of the most critical issues to be discussed. And certainly, the governments are supposed to make kind of commitments in order to ensure sufficient and effective water management. And that is why, of course, absolutely logical that in light of this perspective and in light of the EU accession, I kindly ask Alexei Kuzmenkov, the head of the State Agency of Water Resources, to make the key presentation, key word of this session. Alexei, floor is yours.
Дякую, Михайло. Доброго дня всі учасники сьогоднішньої сесії. Це дуже символічно, що ми сьогодні в українському павільйоні. Це символізує те, що сьогодні, окрім того об'єднання цього цивілізованого світу щодо політичної, військової підтримки нашої України, в тому числі відбувається фахова експертна підтримка саме тих процесів, пов'язаних із зміною клімату, які є наслідком тієї війни, яка сьогодні проходить в Україні.
I think that this conference is very important and it is very symbolic that we are here in the Ukrainian pavilion I think that this conference is also a good opportunity to remind the world about the problems caused by the Russian war in Ukraine, and to look at it within the climate change context.
Я підготував невеличку презентацію. Так, можна наступний слайд.
I prepared a small presentation, and
Україна тривалий час, довгі роки заслуговувала, виборювала статус надійного гарантованого постачальника, виробника сільськогосподарської продукції.
yes, for a long time, Ukraine has been a guarantor of food security in many countries of the world, thanks to powerful food experts.
Держава Україна входить постійно до п'ятірки найбільших виробників та постачальників сільськогосподарської продукції.
Yes, the country is consistently among the top 5 global exporters of grains and legumes.
Всі ми розуміємо, що ресурси є частиною продовольчих систем та тим важливим фактором, які забезпечують глобальну продовольчу безпеку.
Yes, the contribution to the world food market in 2021 was equivalent to providing food for about 400 million people.
Проте сьогодні проведення бойових дій на території України, водні об'єкти забруднені залишками військової техніки, різними боєприпасами, спостерігаються витоки паливно-мастильних матеріалів.
In the places of war actions today, water bodies are polluted with leftovers of military equipment, various types of ammunition, and leaks of fuel and lubricants are also observed.
Військова техніка та боєприпаси, які потрапляють до водойм на території України, та їх окислення є джерелом хімічного забруднення, наслідки якого ми ще будемо мати досить тривалий час.
Yes. And thus, military aggression of the Russian Federation in Ukraine is a global threat to the policy of sustainable environmental management, and we will have to deal with it for a long time.
Вже сьогодні моніторингом водних ресурсів фіксується перевищення концентрації таких речовин, як ртуть, мідь, цинк, марганець тощо.
According to monitoring data that we have right now, excess concentrations of mercury, copper, zinc, and manganese are recorded.
Наступний слайд, будь ласка. Багато об'єктів критичної та енергетичної інфраструктури сьогодні є місцем ракетних та інших військових ударів.
Objects of critical and energy infrastructure are under attack by drones and missiles every day.
33 об'єкти очисних споруд водопідготовки та водовідведення для забезпечення питних потреб населення сьогодні або пошкоджено, або зруйновано.
33 objects of water treatment and drainage facilities have been damaged.
Багато через пошкоджені електропередач сьогодні працюють в неналежному режимі.
Due to damages to the electricity grid, we have problems with in this field as well.
Попередні потреби повної відбудови та відновлення сектору питного водопостачання оцінюються в розмірі приблизно 5,5 мільярдів доларів США.
First needs for complete reconstruction and recovery of the sector are estimated at about $5.4 billion.
І сліди вибухових речовин та палива постійно потрапляють у водні об'єкти.
Extinguishing large fires causes exposure to hazardous compounds, and also particles of different explosive substances and fuels fall into water bodies.
Наступний слайд, будь ласка. Як ви всі знаєте, що основні зрошувальні меліоративні системи знаходяться на півдні нашої держави.
As you know, the main critical objects can be found in the south of Ukraine.
На той час, коли я готував цю презентацію, я оперував цифрою 85% від площ зрошення, які є окупованими.
When I was preparing this presentation, I used the estimates of 85% of the area of irrigating lands in the occupied territory.
До нас вже останні дні надходять чудові новини. Завдяки нашим Збройним силам значна частина нашої території вже є деокупована.
However, thanks to our army, our Ukrainian forces, there are good news regarding these estimates.
Але сьогодні ще два найбільші магістральні канали знаходяться під окупацією. Це Північно-Кримський канал та Каховський магістральний канал.
However, the two main channels are still occupied, and these are North Crimean Canal and Kakhovsky.
За нашими підрахунками, втрати води через самовільний забір води з Північно-Кримського каналу становить приблизно 420 мільйонів кубічних метрів.
Water losses due to arbitrary withdrawal of water from the North Crimean Canal amount to about 422 million meter cubic.
Тобто і вартість забраної води, тобто втрати води, становить приблизно $490 тисяч на добу.
And the approximate cost of the renovation of them is $792,000 per day.
Давайте наступний слайд, будь ласка. Сьогодні урядом держави розроблено план відновлення України.
Ukraine has developed a new project on recovery.
Значну роль в цьому плані відновлення буде відігравати саме аграрний сектор економіки.
And a large part of this project will be dedicated to the agricultural sector.
Сьогодні попередній доповідач згадував про ті нормативно-правові акти, які були імплементовані в Україні останнім часом.
Previous colleague mentioned about the acts of okay, the legal drafts that have been approved.
Це і закон про організацію водокористувачів, Water Users Organization Law and Strategy and Melioration Strategy for Ukraine. Тому ми очікуємо на якнайшвидке закінчення бойових дій і на залучення інвестицій, які нам нададуть змогу найближчим часом не просто вийти на передвійськовий рівень виробництва аграрної продукції.
So we're expecting a soon finish of the military actions and
навіть значно збільшити виробництво і знову досягти статусу надійного і гарантованого сільськогосподарської продукції у світі.
Okay, and not only return to our pre-war production, but also expand it.
Thank you very much, Alexei. Thank you very much for this very important information. I would like to summarize what Alexei has just mentioned. He pointed out the problem of terrible damages which the water sector and at large the critical infrastructure of Ukraine is facing because of Russian aggression. He also pointed out the issue related to the quality of water, which is very, very important issue in light of the European, in light of the possible EU accession. And when we do, and if we come back to the other, to step out probably to the very first presentation done by Sylvia, I just want to share our some elements of our discussion with Sylvia early in the morning today. We discussed the possible, sorry to say that, opportunities which we can do in light of the EU accession while recovering and restoring our critical infrastructure, that it would be done in full accordance with the European, should be done in the accordance with European norms and European requirements and regulations. And she mentioned fantastic words, by the way. We have a traditional UN word, build back better. What she's saying is a bit different, build forward better. And therefore, it is very important to understand better to which extent, what can be our goal. And for this, it is very important to hear the words and the position of our European colleagues. Joke, Reynold, the floor is yours. Please tell us the European vision, how it should be reorganized.
Okay, I will briefly kick off because the floor is mainly to Jouke Knoll, my colleague, who can tell you everything about the Green Deal policy and climate change from the Ministry of LNV. I briefly step in as agricultural counselor from the Netherlands to Ukraine, just to mention one important thing which I don't want to be forgotten, that the Netherlands is working with Ukraine at this moment in the area of sustainable food systems via our Wageningen University. We have a project there that has two objectives. One is to develop innovative climatic and socio-economic models which quantify the resilience of Ukrainian agriculture and predictive future farming conditions and economic performance. And the second objective is to support Ukrainian research and policy agenda with recommendations for climate smart agriculture and implementation of a national roadmap for sustainable food systems. So that's off my chest. I now give the floor to Jouke Knoll.
Yeah, so thank you, Reinoud, and thank you for inviting me to this session from The Hague, a little bit in Egypt. My name is Jouke Knoll. I'm the Strategic EU Advisor of the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality of the Netherlands. And I was asked to share with you some information on the Green Deal, and which I will do in general. And I will focus a little bit on one of the 8 strategies of the Green Deal, which is the Farm to Fork strategy, which really focuses on the food system that we are talking about. And before I continue, I must say this is policy of the EU, of the European Commission, and I am representing one of the 27 member states. So I'm talking about the policy of another entity, just to bear that in mind, but I'm happy to share that with you. So with regard to the Green Deal, it was presented in 2019 as one of the major policy initiatives of the Commission of the Commissioner von der Leyen, together with Vice President Timmermans, and I think it can be called the most historic long-term and strategic policy package that the EU has ever had, in my humble opinion. And it strives to achieve climate neutrality in 2050. That's the general objective. And with that, it has presented ever since 2019, several of the 8 strategies that are part of the Green Deal, which is the Fit for 55 package. This is more of an implementation package, focusing on climate. It has presented a forest strategy, the soil strategy, the methane strategy, the biodiversity strategy in 2020, and together with the biodiversity strategy, also the Farm to Fork strategy. So the Green Deal is a full range of strategies that need to address the challenges that we are facing with regard to climate and nature, and all it has to achieve climate neutrality. As I said, it focuses on emissions reduction, on energy supply, energy independence, reduction of the use and protection of natural resources. And then, if I may, I will continue with a little focus on the Farm to Fork strategy, one of the 8, as I said. And as was also previously mentioned by, I think, the FAO representative in the beginning, it focuses on the entire food chain. So it goes from primary production to processing and distribution, and at the end also to what are consumers consuming, and what are we doing with the waste. So this whole farm to fork strategy is an integrated approach on the food system, and it achieves to get the sustainable food system in the EU in 2030. And what has been in the news a lot, because it really draws the attention of all of us, or most of the stakeholders, are the quantitative reduction targets. So the farm to fork states that the EU should reduce the use and risk of pesticides by 50% in 2030. The loss of nutrients should be halved also in 2030. The use of fertilizer should be reduced by 20%. The food waste and food loss should be reduced by 50% in 2030. And in 2030, and that's the last one, we should have in the EU as a whole a minimum of 25% of organic production. So these are reduction targets that really have gotten the attention in the media and in the political arena. But the farm to fork entails a lot more. It also proposes, I think, about 25 legislative proposals to change production standards that will, in a way, limit possibilities, but it will also enhance the possibilities for all sectoral parts. So a few legislative proposals have already been published and negotiated. We're talking about pesticide statistics, food security, and the code of conduct. The emission and energy revision, the revision of emission and energy directives are almost finalized in the negotiations in Brussels. And recently, for example, 2 major regulations were proposed on the reduction of pesticides and on the restoration of nature. And what will follow will still be legislation on carbon certification, on food waste reduction, on nutrient management, on healthy soils, on new genomic techniques, animal welfare, and also sustainable food systems. So there will be a regulation at the end of next year. It will be published by the Commission, then a negotiation with the member states and the Parliament, the European Parliament, will follow. But it will be published at the end of next year, and it is still being drafted by the European Commission. So it's really not known what will come out of it, but it should actually create a foundation for systemic changes by all actors in the food system, and in order to accelerate the transition to a sustainable food system. And this will be achieved by, for example, to adopt common definitions on sustainability, and then we're talking about environment, on health of food, and social aspects. It will entail labeling provisions. So what labels can we use, and what criteria should they meet to be able to be used? It will have provisions on public procurement of sustainable food. It will entail provisions that will create healthy food environment. And it will entail, for example, what are the responsibility of all actors in the food chain. So that is, in short, the situation with regard to the Green Deal, and more specifically the farm to fork. And with that, I would like to return the floor to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much for this extremely comprehensive review of Europe, of our perspective, which is very important in light of EU accession. I would probably like to focus on one very important point, which has just mentioned Jaike. I mean, labeling. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing very interesting moment when the private sector will have to adopt to the new European practice. If they want to sustain on the international markets, they need to be responsible for what they are declaring. And that is why, bearing in mind that we have a lot of people from NGOs, from the social sitting here, and taking into account that this session is transmitted and streamed in social media, I kindly ask you, colleagues from NGOs, to start fighting against greenwashing. This is very important issue. Trust me, when the companies are making kind of like promises which they will never going to fulfill, this is something which you should point out, and we really count on you on that. Thank you. And now let's step into more practical details, because we have heard a lot of irrigation. We have a lot of words related to drainage, which where we count, by the way, on the Netherlands experience. And I would kindly ask academician Raisa Vazhegova to tell her vision as a practical person. What should be done on the field level. But before that, I would like to congratulate her, because she knows what is to live under occupation. She stayed few weeks under occupation in Kherson. She managed to escape from there. Her institute, where she is a director, is completely demolished. We know that very well. I gave her my word, and I can simply would like to confirm it. As soon as the military allows, FAO will be in Kherson, and FAO will support the institute. Raisa, floor is yours.
Доброго дня, шановні учасники конференції. Тема нашої сьогоднішньої наради – вода і продовольчі системи. Вода є важливим компонентом продовольчих систем, оскільки забезпечує їх стійкість, а якісні водні ресурси – це умови для виробництва безпечних і якісних продуктів харчування.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our topic today is water resources and food supply systems. Water is an important component of food supply systems because it ensures their sustainability, and high quality water resources are a precondition to produce safe and highly quality food products.
Будь ласка, наступний слайд. На рисунку представлена схематична модель тісного взаємозв'язку між водними ресурсами та елементами продовольчої системи. Тим самим доведено особливе значення цього природного ресурсу в продовольчій безпеці будь-якої країни. І дана модель доводить важливість води у продовольчій системі, однак необхідно сьогодні враховувати потенціал водних екосистем, який викликає занепокоєння при плануванні ефективної роботи таких систем.
The figure presents a schematic model of the close relationship between water resources and constituents of any food supply system. This proves the special importance of this natural resource in food security of any country. This model also proves the importance of water in the food supply system, but it is necessary to take into account the potential of water ecosystems today and the current concerns regarding planning the effective operation of such systems.
За останні 100 років загальне світове використання водних ресурсів зросло в 6 разів і продовжує неухильно підвищуватись і збільшуючись приблизно на 1% за рік під впливом таких факторів, як демографічне зростання, економічний розвиток та моделі споживання.
For the past 100 years, the general usage of water resources has increased by 6 times and continues to rise, rising approximately by 1% annually under such factors as demographical increase, economic growth, and consumption models.
Зміни клімату разом з більш нерівномірним і нестабільним забезпеченням водними ресурсами ще більше ускладнюють ситуацію в регіонах, де ці ресурси вже зазнають серйозного навантаження.
The climate change, together with more unstable supply of water resources, complicates the situation in regions where these resources are undergoing a serious load.
Ряд міжнародних і вітчизняних законодавчих документів, які направлені на запобігання катастрофічних кліматичних змін, містять заходи з досягнення екологічно і економічно доцільних перетворень в усіх секторах економіки, в тому числі і в сільському господарстві.
A number of international and domestic legislative documents which are aimed at preventing catastrophic climate changes include measures to achieve ecologically and economically expedient transformations in all sectors of the economy, including agriculture.
Сьогодні Україна представляє вже другий проєкт другого національного визначення внеску до Паризької угоди, задекларувавши на загальному національному рівні не перевищувати до 2030 року 35% обсягів викидів парникових газів порівняно з рівнем 1990 року. Або, іншими словами, скоротити викиди парникових газів на 65%.
Today, Ukraine has already presented the draft on the second national definition of contribution to the Paris Agreement, declaring at the national level not to exceed 35% of greenhouse gas emissions in 2030 compared to 1990 levels, or in other words, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 65% in 2030 compared to 1990.
Ряд позицій другого національного визначення внеску до Паризької угоди відноситься і до сільського господарства, а саме збільшення площ сільськогосподарських земель з використанням технологій мінімального і нульового обробітку ґрунту, перехід на добрива з уповільненим вивільненням поживних речовин, збільшення частки сільськогосподарських земель органічного виробництва до 3% у 2030 році і збільшення виробництва і використання біогазу.
A number of positions of the second national definition of contribution to the Paris Agreement also apply to agriculture, namely, increment of the share of agricultural lands where minimal tillage and no-till systems are applied, transfer to extended release fertilizers, increment of organic agriculture share in the land use up to 3% by 2030, increment of biogas production and use.
Будь ласка, наступний слайд. За багаторічними даними спостережень за світовими показниками температурного режиму, вчені Інституту космічних досліджень Годдарда зробили прогноз середньосвітових температурних змін до 2025 року, які показують їх постійне зростання, починаючи з 1850 року.
Based on long-term observations of global temperature values, scientists of the Goddard Institute for Space Research have made a forecast of average global temperature changes until 2025, certifying about a constant increase in starting from 1850.
Дослідження вітчизняних вчених у рамках виконання українсько-німецького проєкту підтверджують прогнози кліматичних змін у бік підвищення температурного режиму, динаміки опадів та випаровування з поверхні ґрунту для різних природно-кліматичних змін на період до 2070 року.
The studies by domestic scientists within the framework of the Ukrainian-German project confirm the forecast of climate changes toward an increase in the temperature regime, the dynamics of precipitation and evaporation from the soil surface for various natural and climatic changes by 2070.
Враховуючи існуючі кліматичні зміни та недостатню повну реалізацію кліматично орієнтованої політики країн світу, можна очікувати, що у майбутньому сільське господарство зіткнеться з ризиками, значна частина яких буде пов'язана з якісним і кількісними характеристиками водних ресурсів та їх джерел.
Taking into account the existing climate changes and insufficient implementation of climate-oriented policies on the global scale, it is expected that in the future, agriculture will face risks, a significant part of which will be related to the qualitative and quantitative characteristics of water resources.
Більшість територій будуть потребувати штучного зрошення, а значні території будуть затоплюватись і вимагати заходів зі штучного дренування і відведення залишків поверхневих і підземних вод.
Most of the territories will need artificial irrigation, and significant territories will be flooded, requiring artificial drainage and disposal of residual surface and subsurface waters.
Все це буде важливою умовою для подальшого розвитку сільського господарства у напрямі його кліматичної орієнтованості через екологізацію і збалансування агропродовольчих систем. Наступний слайд, будь ласка.
This will be an important condition for the further development of agriculture in the direction of its climate orientation through the greening and balancing of agro-production systems.
Вченими нашого інституту проводяться дослідження з питань удосконалення моніторингу за розвитком сільськогосподарських рослин в умовах кліматичних змін і наявності різного водного стресу з використанням сучасних методів діагностики. Даний моніторинг дозволяє своєчасно і швидко реагувати на проблеми, які виникають на полі, і застосовувати відповідні заходи.
The scientists of our institute conduct studies on improving monitoring of the development of agricultural plants under conditions of climate change and different water stress levels using modern diagnostic methods. This monitoring allows one to respond on time to the problems that arise on the field through the application of appropriate methods.
Наступний слайд. Метод дистанційного управління зрошенням value тідінг включає прогноз погоди для конкретного поля, вміст вологи в ґрунті на рівні окремих полів і сівозмін, контроль за вмістом вологи в ґрунті у покерневій зоні рослин та планування поливу для конкретного поля.
Valley scheduling remote irrigation control includes weather forecast for each field, soil moisture content on the level of field and crop rotation, soil moisture control in the plant's root system zone, and irrigation scheduling for each field.
Результати моніторингу дозволяють отримати аналіз спектральної яскравості ділянок дослідного поля за такими показниками, як вегетаційний індекс, густота стояння рослин, прояв стану водного стресу і контроль вологості ґрунту на посівах.
The results of such monitoring allow getting analysis of spectral bands for the experimental field of the Institute of Climate Smart Agriculture of NAS by the values of normalized difference vegetation index, plants density, water stress index, soil moisture control device on crops.
Основними заходами, які розробляються вченими нашого інституту і адаптуються до сучасних кліматичних змін, реалізують державну політику у напрямі пом'якшення впливу кліматичних змін на функціонування продовольчих систем. Є наступний слайд, будь ласка.
The main measures developed by the scientists of our institute and adapted to modern climatic conditions and state policy in the direction of mitigating the effects of climate change on the functioning of food supply system.
Раціональне використання в цих системах водного ресурсу, а саме збереження водних екосистем та їх функцій, удосконалення управління водними ресурсами в сільському господарстві шляхом підвищення стійкості неполивних продовольчих систем до змін клімату, раціональному використанню водних ресурсів у зрошуваному землеробстві.
A rational use of water resources in this system, preservation of water ecosystems and functions, improving the management of water resources in agriculture by increasing the resilience of non-irrigated food supply system to climate changes under rational use of water resources in irrigated agriculture.
Удосконалення систем обробітку ґрунту, удобрення, захисту сільськогосподарських культур, селекції рослин для забезпечення ефективності транспіраційних процесів, стійкості до змін кліматичних змін, застосування наукоємних технологій зрошення і способів поливу.
Improve the systems of tillage, fertilization, and plant protection of plant breeding to ensure the efficiency of transpirational process, resistance to climatic changes, storage and application of science-intensive irrigation technologies and methods of watering crops.
Зменшення непродуктивних витрат за межами продовольчої системи на підтримання інфраструктури, зрошувальних систем, переробку продукції і транспортування.
Reduction of non-productive expenditures outside food supply system for infrastructure maintenance, irrigation system, products processing and transportation.
Доступ фермерів до інформації про погодні фактори та їх прогнози, до системи моніторингу ґрунтів, якості поливної води та урожаю, а також цінової політики на вітчизняному та світових ринках.
Providing farmers with information on weather factors and forecasts, soil monitoring system, irrigation, water and crop quality, as well as price policy on domestic and global markets.
І підвищення екологічної стійкості продовольчих систем та їх впливу на навколишнє середовище та якість виробленої продукції. Дякую. Наступний слайд.
Increasing the ecological sustainability of food system and their impact on the environmental and the quality of produced products. Thank you.
Дякую за увагу.
Thank you very much, Raisa, for this fantastic, I would say, academic presentation, and which is really very important for understanding the level of Ukrainian climate science and agricultural science. And I would like to say that the Institute, as well as National Academy of Agrarian Science, they are not only busy with some fundamental and important studies. They are also busy with very practical works, and not only here but also abroad. And they really would like to work in Africa. We have discussed it many times with the Institute, with the president of National Academy of Agrarian Science, but also with my friend, Aimé Pascal Mongo from Democratic Republic of Congo, who besides his political intention is also a farmer in certain case. I would like you, Aimé Pascal, to summarize what you feel about this discussion. Do you believe that Ukraine can play a role in organizing the agricultural business in Democratic Republic of Congo? How do you foresee your vision? Has it been changed? Your vision on the developments on the entire food system inside DRC? Floor is yours, Aimé.
Okay. I really want to thank you so much, Mr. Michael, for your invitation. I couldn't reach that conference because, like you know, I'm really busy in DRC, and like I say, my English is not good because I'm from the French country. I want to introduce my assistant because his English is very good, and then he will summarize what I want to explain to the conference. Is it possible? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, I said that my English not good. I want to introduce my assistant who will summarize what I want to explain.
Yes, please.
Except if there is someone there who speaks French, who can translate for me, but my assistant is ready to raise what I want to explain to the conference. Okay?
Lovely. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll start by thanking all of you for the invitation to the conference. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it for different reasons, but hopefully next time we'll be joining physically. The DRC is a solution country in the face of the current global reality. Let me tell you that our country aspires to become a breadbasket for the whole world. Moreover, to be able to feed different populations through a healthy and stable system. We are all aware of the fact that we must necessarily apply different measures to protect the climate and the entire ecosystem in developing such. And this will definitely be done as we are working on it here on the ground. And our country offers many solutions, among which I can mention the availability of arable lands. There is a huge amount of water. And it should be noted that we are talking about fresh water here. In addition to this, the climate is very conducive to many types of crops. So partners who think they can come and work in partnership with us to develop agriculture projects in DRC are welcome. The partnership will always be a win-win deal. I'm even currently partnering with a group of Ukrainian entrepreneurs that I've invited lately here in my personal capacity. And they came because they want to develop some agriculture project in the province of Mai-Ndombe in the DRC here. While we are remaining open to others' opportunity, it is important to point out that the financial contribution of the partner is very necessary. Thank you one more time.
Thank you very much for your position, for your view. I can tell you that we are certainly aware about the visits of Ukrainians to Democratic Republic of Congo. We are in continuous communication with this group as well as with the other colleagues. And we from FAO perspective, we really would like to facilitate that project, both working inside Ukraine and inside Democratic Republic of Congo, because we have offices in both countries. We discussed it with the headquarters, with Sylvia, who is responsible also for covering the DRC portfolio from HQ perspective. And yes, we will move in this direction. This is no doubt whatsoever. So Raisa, I'm Pascal. At certain point, I guess you will need to organize communication in a bit different way, not on the public. So thank you very much, Jaime, for your intervention. Time is approaching to the end of our session. Let me make a kind of conclusion. What can be done? What we have heard. What are the problems and what can be the solutions? To my understanding, the critical issue is that because of military aggression, if it comes to Ukraine, because of military aggression by Russia Federation, critical infrastructure is damaged. And it requires significant investment in order to be reconstructed, but basically in order to be constructed based on the new requirements, in line with the Green Deal, in line with the other European policies, Repower EU and so on. We also understand that Ukraine, as well as Democratic Republic of Congo, are the global food baskets. And we do need to ensure the sustainable production of staple crops in order to ensure the global and not least national and regional food security. The quality of water is also an issue. Forestry is also an issue. And for us and FAO, of course, it is a huge challenge that we need to address in our program, in our programmatic approach. And therefore, I am absolutely happy to confirm that we are currently negotiating with the respective Ministry of Protection of Nature Resources, Environment Protection and Nature Resources of Ukraine, the possibility of developing the full-size proposal for the JEF8 under the impact program, which is called Food Systems. And it will be indeed focused on sustainable water management. It will be focused on improvement in sustainable food production, crop production, first of all, and not least, it will be focused on forestry when it comes to the northern area of Ukraine. It will be a full-size project And I'm really very much happy to see all of you as a significant partnerships and partners in valuable partners in this important project of FAO. Said that, I would like to thank all the participants of the session, especially the ones who have joined us online, because I would like to thank all the participants of this session who are sitting here in Ukrainian pavilion in Sharm el-Sheikh, and certainly all the listeners of the stream translation, transmission of this session in the social network. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best, and stay safe.